Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Sorcerer of Dark Magic Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for July 2020. A lot of you requested a Sorcerer of Dark Magic deck to counterpart the Blue Eyes Shining deck profile I did a while back, being a mix of the Blue Eyes and, just the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. This is going to be a mix of Sorcerer of Dark Magic with the Dark Magician support we currently have in the TCG game, really helping for the overall playstyle of Sorcerer of Dark Magic, which just needs 2 level 6 or higher spellcaster type monsters to summon out. And it's a really strong card, being able to stop all the different trap cards your opponent can use, so being able to lock down their spells along with all the other plays we have with the Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl monsters in this deck, made for a really awesome deck. I really do love Sorcerer of Dark Magic, probably one of my favorite cards art-wise for the whole Dark Magician lineup as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the actual monsters, I'm running 2 Sorcerer of Dark Magic. I was debating how many of this card I wanted to run in the deck. You could honestly bump this card up to 3 if you wanted to. I'd show what cards to take out later in the video to make this a 3 of in the deck. But with this card being your powerhouse, 3200 attack, it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by tributing 2 level 6 or higher spellcaster type monsters, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when a trap card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card must be faceable on the field to activate and resolve this effect. But being a true powerhouse, being able to stop a good number of different trap cards as well that your opponent may activate, I wanted to focus on just some other cards that work very well with all the overall spellcasters in the deck. But 3200 attack, making it able to get over even some of the different Blue Eyes monsters if you were to go up against this deck, being the Yugi deck versus Kaiba. It could definitely focus on taking out those monsters quite easily and just having a very easy way to summon out this card, with the main focus of the Dark Magician deck to summon out Dark Magician and also Dark Magician Girl onto the field. But once again, if you wanted to run 3 copies of this, I'll show what you could take out in just a bit for it. For some of the other support, I am running 3 Dark Magician, with a good focus of this deck being basically a Dark Magician deck. You definitely want full numbers of this card since it's the main focus for a good number of the different spell and traps we run in the deck. Also just being searchable with plenty of other cards as well. Being able to get this card out onto the field quite easily makes it that much easier to summon out our main go-to card, which is Sorcerer of Dark Magic, which, unlike Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, which needed Blue Eyes Ultimate on the field, definitely a lot easier to summon out. For some other level 6 powerhouse spellcasters, I'm also running 3 Apprentice Illusion Magician. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. And during damage calculation, if your other Dark Spellcaster type monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face from the field to the graveyard to have that monster you control gain 2000 attack or defense during damage calculation only. So with that Dark Caster, spell monster, you can have this card gain even more attack, making it a true powerhouse at 5200 attack with your Apprentice Illusion Magician. But the discard can also set up Dark Magician into the graveyard for you to special summon back onto the field, giving you the 2 monsters to use to summon out Sorcerer of Dark Magic. So it's why I like running this, just as the additional option for the spellcaster type monsters. I'm also running the 2 Dark Magician Girl. It works well with some of the other spells to special summon this card out onto the field, but only 2 though. I definitely feel Apprentice Illusion Magician is a lot more consistent for the special summon out onto the field, while Dark Magician Girl, just in name, helps with the overall setup of a lot of the different cards, but still definitely got to run Dark Magician Girl on any Dark Magician deck. I think it's definitely, just part of the deck as a whole, and once again, meeting the requirements to summon out Sorcerer of Dark Magic onto the field also. For some of the more spellcaster type monsters that help with the overall setup of our cards, I'm also running 3 Magician's Rod. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Dark Magician in its text. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap while this card is in the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can tribute 1 spellcaster monster to add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Magician's Rod once per turn. The search power, the majority of all the different spells and traps we run in the deck are Dark Magician based, so having access to whichever one we need for our plays is a big help for sure with Magician's Rod. So you definitely want to run 3 of it. It's your normal summon of the deck most of the time. With Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, I special summon them out onto the field. So this card with our setup, usually either grabbing, Circle or Magician's Navigation, just help for the overall play to get our bigger monsters out onto the field for Sorcerer of Dark Magic. And I'm also running 3 Magician of Dark Illusion, just another easy special summon with this card, able to grab another spellcaster monster when you summon this card out. You can even summon it with Magician's Navigation onto the field, and then just have an easy special summon option onto the field. Once again, same requirements for Sorcerer of Dark Magic with this card, but also you're able to go for some, rank 7 exceed plays using this monster and Dark Magician also. The one thing I wasn't running is Magician Souls. I know it's kind of a more expensive card at the moment to get a hold of. If you do have Magician Soul and you want to run them, you can always take out a couple numbers of Magician of Dark Illusion, also maybe one more copy of Dark Magician Girl, and just try and mix around. But the main focus is Sorcerer Dark Magic, but the setup is definitely needed for the overall plays in the deck. But those are some numbers you can mix around for those spots. As for the Sorcerer of Dark Magic, if you wanted to run a third copy of this, you can always take out one of the Magician of Dark Illusions for that additional spot for our main powerhouse in the deck. But that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Dark Magical Circle, probably one of the best ones in the deck, as all Dark Magician decks. When this card is activated, look at 3 cards on the top of your deck, reveal 1 Dark Magician or a spell or trap that specifically lists this card, and add it to your hand. Also play the remaining cards on top of the deck in any order. If Dark Magician is normal or special summon, you get to banish 1 card your opponent controls. It's a once per turn effect, but still great setup for sure, having that search power, and just a good way to make use of Dark Magician to take care of your opponent's cards. Really putting the fear on it also once you get that set up, and just having that along with the fact that your opponent can't get rid of this card or any of your Dark Magician summons, since you'll be able to negate traps on the field, also makes it that much more scarier. But to set up the Dark Magician search in our hand as well, I run 3 Illusion Magic. This could be another potential spot to take out for Sorcerer of Dark Magic, putting this card at 2, or even adding in Magician's Rod if you want to reduce any of the numbers. You tribute 1 spellcaster to add up to 2 copies of Dark Magician from your deck and or graveyard to hand. You can only activate 1 Illusion Magic per turn, but it's a quick play spell that makes use very easily of your opponent's cards. Just being able to add Dark Magician to your hand, then banish cards in your opponent's field using your Dark Magical Circle with this card also. And I also run 2 Soul Servant. This is one of the newer cards from Magical Hero. You place 1 card on the top of the deck from your hand, deck, or graveyard. That is Dark Magician, or specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text, except for Soul Servant. And during the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to draw cards equal to the number of Palladium monsters, Dark Magician, and or Dark Magician Girls with different names on the field and in the graveyard. So more draw power with this card altogether for all the different spellcaster support, just for the fact that we're investing a lot of our tributes into Sorcerer of Dark Magic. So having a little more draw power with cards set up in our graveyard is a big help for sure with this card. For some of the other one-ofs in the deck, I'm running 1 Bond Between Teacher and Student, just another easy way to special summon a level 6 monster, which will be Dark Magician Girl from the hand, deck, or graveyard, and then being able to set Dark Magic Attack, Dark Burning Magic, Dark Burning Attack, or Dark Magic Twin Burst directly from the deck gives us that extra setup with a bunch of our other cards on the field. I also run the 1 Dark Magic Expanded, the 1 Thousand Knives, and the 1 Dark Magic Curtain. If you want to replace Dark Magic Expanded with Dark Magic Attack to take out more of our opponent's back row, you can do that as well. It's just in the deck as a more power boost card for some of the spellcaster on the field. Being able to bump up Sorcerer of Dark Magic along with the power of Apprentice Illusion Magician even more makes it a big plus for sure. And we can do a few fusions in the deck, so I'm also running the 2 Super Polymerization. Our go-to one is the Dark Magicians, just an easy one to summon out, with the requirements being a Spellcaster or Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl monster on the field. Being able to even use our opponent's Spellcasters makes it all the better as well. And the main lockdown I was speaking of with our opponent is the Secret Village of Spellcasters. If you get this card set up with Sorcerer of Dark Magic on the field, you've taken care of your opponent's spell card activation and also being able to negate their traps, definitely limiting them to the plays they can do, having to only rely on monsters on the field altogether. Plus, I also run the 1 Terraforming just to easily search out this card. I'm only running 2 Secret Village. I didn't want to max it out as much. You can use it at times for discard fodder for Apprentice Illusion Magician, but other than that, you don't need any more copies than that. It's just an added play to work with Sorcerer of Dark Magic, but if you don't have any spellcasters on the field already, you don't want to activate this card unless this card is also on the field, because a lot of other different cards that tribute, like Illusion Magic, can leave you without any spellcasters, and then you're not able to use any spells on the field unless you can get a spellcaster back onto the field. and running a good amount of dark attribute monsters. The biggest thing I thought of was just wanting to add Sorcerer of Dark Magic to my hand faster, so I'm running 3 Allure of Darkness, not normally run in a Dark Magician deck, I would say, but having multiples of all these cards as well. If you only need the 1 copy on the field, I want to draw into my Sorcerer of Dark Magic, so relying on this, as long as you don't banish this card, obviously, you can get to the card that much faster, since it's also not a once per turn, banishing other cards you may not need, like additional Magician's Rods in your hand to use, and then just get into that card faster. And that is it for the spells. We'll now move on to the traps. I have 3 Magician's Navigation in the deck. If you wanted to drop one of these for an Eternal Soul or move around these numbers also, since they are searchable, you can do that as well. It's just the easiest way to special summon Dark Magician from your hand, then special summon a level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster from your deck as well, giving you all the cards you need for Sorcerer of Dark Magic right then and there. And like I said, if you want more special summoning options, you can drop one of the Magician's Navigation for another Eternal Soul as well. Since I didn't have it in the deck, I wasn't able to find any of my copies, but just that other spot to fill in. And more options just with the Magician's Combination. Once per turn, where a card effect is activated, except during the damage step, you contribute 1 Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl to special summon 1 Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your hand or graveyard with a different name from the tributed monster. So more options to get other cards onto the field. Being a continuous trap as well, it works very well with Dark Magical Circle for the banish of your opponent's card when you get Dark Magician onto the field. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run the 1 Dark Magicians. You can always run an additional number of this card, but for the super poly targets, I also have the 1 Starving Venom, since we do run a good number of Dark Attribute monsters in the deck, so we at least have 2 cards for the super polymerization targets that we run in the deck. For the Link monsters, I run the 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Cross Sheep for the other additional extra deck monsters we run, 1 Arctic Clock Taker, 1 Akashic Magician, since we do run a good amount of Spellcasters, 1 Barricade Ward Blocker to recycle the Secret Villages, 1 Security Dragon, 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Borolo Dragon. For the Exceed monsters, I actually couldn't find any of the Exceeds for the Dark Magician support either. I have 2 Big Eye in here, but you can always replace one of those for the additional spots also, and they're also a Spellcaster type, so it's another plus there for sure. And the 1 Norito, the Morale Leader, for the level 6 Exceeds you can go into as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, Sorcerer of Dark Magic, whenever I first saw this art when the movie came out, was definitely one of my favorites for sure. So I wanted to make a deck that revolved around him, and I'm really happy with the results, just having an additional way to play Dark Magicians and focus on him as the powerhouse. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.